Okay, so part 3 of the head build of the XUD11. As you can see, I've cleaned up the mating faces since the last part. I've also cleaned up the ports as best as I can, just for now. They're going to get dirtier later with more grinding, but it's an initial clean up to see what we've got. Other mating faces like the cam carrier face and coolant faces as well, nice and clean. Valve stem seals are out, as you can see, so you can now see the valve stem guides, which are the brassy things there. All look pretty good. I'm pretty pleased when I inspected those. So the next stage now is to be grinding out these ports. I've started to do a little bit, but I've just got the wrong grinder bits, so I'm waiting for some decent grinder bits. You can see I've started just a gasket match, and then we'll do some work on the ports inside here, some ridges, etc. to get rid of. But the next real step I can do while I'm waiting for those to arrive is these valve seats here. I know they look pretty clean, but they need lapping in. They're a little bit pitted, and for a good seal you want them lapped in. So we'll show that in a second, but first we've got to clean these horrible coked up valves. So simple method that I find, you could do different things like oven cleaner and stuff. I find this method quite simple, quite quick, quite fun. I set up a little drill in a vise, and you stick your valve in your drill, you tighten that up, and then with a little bit of 400 grit wet and dry paper and a little bit of WD-40 oil, you just clean up the valve quite nice. So go to a quick time lapse and you'll see that. We've cleaned up the one, that's obviously the old filthy one. There's lots of deposits on it, and yuck. And this is the one we've just spun through the drill. Some nice wet and dry. It's not bad at all, I'm pretty pleased with that. You'd probably go a bit further. I might do on the others, just to get them really nice and shiny and clean. So that's really good. So we'll do the rest of them now. It's a bit boring to watch, so we'll do the rest of them and we'll come back. Okay, so time to lap the valves in. We've got all our valves nice and cleaned up and our boxes ready to go. And lapping consists of basically rubbing one edge of the valve against the valve seat in the head until you have a nice consistent line all the way around, which is your sealing line, sealing lip. And you do this with basically some grinding paste. So this is where it's absolutely essential that once you have lapped in a valve to a valve seat, that you mark it, you don't move it onto another valve seat, otherwise it won't seal. You're lapping that surface onto that seat only, so make sure you have a box, etc. ready to make sure that you don't start mixing them up as you go along. So the method's quite simple. As I showed there, you drop your valve in, maybe a little bit of oil on the valve stem itself, just to help and not mark anything, and you've got one of these lovely little rubber suckers that pushes onto the valve. Can't do it very well left-handed. There we go. And that'll hold the valve now. And you're going to spin it. But what we're going to do is we're going to stick a little bit of this grinding paste on the edge there. First we'll go with coarse, and then you finish it off with fine, a little bit like if you're using wet and dry paper really, until you get a nice seat in there. So enough chatting, let's get on with some work. So that was just the one. Even in time lapse it looks like it took a long time. I'm hoping the camera now is going to focus nicely, just so you can see that lovely new seat that we've just ground in, and on the valve as well. Can you see that? So that's a nice matched seat, so make sure we keep that somehow. Either we keep it in the head, obviously you can't keep doing that, so you have to put it in a box, make sure you label it, and then you move on to the rest of them. So 11 more to go. I won't bore you, it's more boring than watching paint dry doing this. First one's fun and then it gets extremely boring, so we'll come back when we're finished. Okay, so you can just see here, we've just done the 12 valves, and you can just see the lovely, nice new valve seats, all ground in, lovely, and the valves are all in there boxed up, ready to go, all labelled and numbered, so we know which way we ought to put them back in. Game play has stopped a little bit as I need to wait for those new grinder bits, so I can just work on these ports a little bit more, but they're certainly a lot cleaner than they were before, which is a good start. The next thing I can do is clean up the carrier, cam carrier, and a little bit of work on the car, and we can start putting things back together again. So that's all good. So for now, ciao!